You've probably heard it countless times. Switching to a plant-based diet is the key to saving the planet. This claim is often made in discussions about sustainability and environmental protection. But what if this narrative isn't as straightforward as it seems? While plant-based diets are praised for their lower carbon footprint, the reality is that global plant farming comes with its own challenges, including high resource use, environmental degradation, and complex supply chains that span the globe. Let's take a closer look at why plant-based diets might not be as sustainable as we're often led to believe. It's easy to assume that growing plants requires fewer resources than raising animals, but many plant-based foods, especially staples in vegan and vegetarian diets, are actually incredibly resource-intensive. One major example is water use. Consider almonds, a popular plant-based snack. It takes about 1,900 gallons of water to produce just 1 pound of almonds. Most almonds are grown in California, a region that regularly suffers from droughts, putting enormous strain on local water resources. Similarly, avocados, another plant-based favorite, require significant amounts of water to grow. The increased demand for avocados has led to over-extraction of water in regions like Mexico, where local communities are now facing water shortages. Other resource-heavy crops include rice, which requires large amounts of water and often contributes to methane emissions due to the way it's grown in flooded fields, and soybeans, a primary ingredient in many plant-based products, which require extensive land use and often lead to deforestation in countries like Brazil, contributing to habitat loss and carbon emissions. While these crops may seem like sustainable alternatives to meat, their production often comes at a significant environmental cost, particularly in regions already struggling with limited water supplies. Another key issue with plant-based diets is the reliance on monoculture farming, where a single crop is grown over large areas of land. While this method is efficient in terms of production, it comes with severe environmental consequences. Monoculture farming depletes the soil, leading to erosion, nutrient loss, and increased reliance on chemical fertilizers. Over time, this strips the land of its natural fertility, making it harder to grow crops without synthetic inputs. Fertilizers, in turn, contribute to water pollution and create dead zones in aquatic ecosystems, as excess nutrients from farm runoff enter rivers and oceans. In addition to soil degradation, monoculture farming significantly reduces biodiversity. By planting only one type of crop over large areas, we create environments where pests can thrive, leading to a greater reliance on pesticides and herbicides. These chemicals not only harm non-target species, like bees and butterflies, but they also leach into the soil and water, further contributing to environmental decline. As plant-based diets grow in popularity, the demand for crops like soy, quinoa, and palm oil is increasing, pushing more land into monoculture farming and amplifying these environmental issues. While it might seem sustainable to load up on fruits, vegetables, and grains, much of the plant-based food we consume travels great distances before it reaches our plates. This global supply chain requires significant amounts of energy and resources, leading to higher carbon emissions than many people realize. For instance, avocados are often shipped thousands of miles from Mexico and South America to markets in North America and Europe. This transportation requires refrigerated trucks, planes, and ships, all contributing to global carbon emissions. Quinoa, a staple of many vegan and vegetarian diets, is primarily grown in the Andean region of South America. The increased global demand for quinoa has not only led to a rise in carbon emissions from transportation, but has also caused land degradation and soil erosion in regions where the crop is overfarmed. In addition to transportation emissions, many plant-based products require packaging and processing to keep them fresh during their journey. This adds further to the environmental cost, especially when plastics and other non-biodegradable materials are used. While the image of plant-based diets often conjures ideas of local, farm-fresh produce, the reality is that many of the foods we rely on are part of complex, resource-intensive global supply chains. To meet the growing global demand for plant-based foods, more land is being cleared for agriculture. This has led to widespread deforestation in regions like the Amazon rainforest, where land is often cleared for soy plantations or palm oil farms. These crops are key ingredients in many plant-based foods, from tofu and soy milk to vegan butter and processed snacks. The environmental impact of deforestation is staggering. Forests act as carbon sinks, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. When these forests are cleared, the stored carbon is released, contributing to climate change. Additionally, deforestation destroys the habitats of countless species, pushing many toward extinction. This loss of biodiversity not only impacts wildlife, but also disrupts entire ecosystems, making them less resilient to environmental changes. While it's easy to think of plant-based diets as being more eco-friendly than meat-based diets, the destruction of natural habitats for plant farming tells a different story. As more forests are cleared to grow crops, we're trading one form of environmental degradation for another. So, if plant-based diets aren't as sustainable as they seem, what's the alternative? The key is not necessarily to abandon plant-based foods, but to adopt a more holistic approach to food production and consumption. One of the most effective ways to reduce the environmental impact of our food is to prioritize locally sourced and seasonal foods. By reducing the distance our food travels, we can cut down on carbon emissions and support more sustainable farming practices in our communities. Another option is regenerative agriculture, which focuses on restoring soil health, promoting biodiversity, and sequestering carbon in the soil. Regenerative grazing, for example, allows animals to graze in a way that mimics natural ecosystems, enhancing soil fertility and promoting plant growth without the need for synthetic fertilizers or pesticides. Lastly, instead of relying heavily on a few resource-intensive plant foods, we can create a more sustainable food system by eating a diverse range of foods, including responsibly raised animal products. Diversity in our diets can reduce the pressure on specific crops and help restore balance to agricultural ecosystems. While plant-based diets are often hailed as the solution to the world's environmental challenges, the reality is more complicated. High resource use, environmental degradation from monoculture farming, and the carbon footprint of global supply chains all contribute to the hidden environmental costs of plant-based food production. To truly make our diets more sustainable, we need to look beyond simple solutions like eat more plants and focus on the broader picture. By supporting local farmers, adopting regenerative farming practices, and embracing a diverse, balanced diet, we can create a food system that nourishes both people and the planet.